If you could do any budget, any idea, any artist that you choose to work with, what's the dream project that you have?
That sword of omens come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Thundercats. Ho! And you're watching The Dorkening.
Welcome back to Terrificon, everybody. And you got the Soaking Wet Lhasa Apso host going for you right now, Carrie. I'm here with Howard Mackie, who is very exciting. He's the reason I got into comics to begin with, and I just can't get enough of it. This is the whole reason I'm at Terrificon. Howard, thank you for making everything that you've done. And I have a specific question that I was coming up with when I saw you on the panel yesterday.
Okay.
First, I'm going to be nice, though, and say, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I love being at Terrificon. It's my third or fourth time. It's really one of my favorite shows.
Like, you get along with Mitch, and every
yeah.
time you come here?
Yes, and it's a nice layout. It does tend to be comic book centric, which is great. It's also like a family reunion of sorts. I mean, probably I've worked with close to 70% of the people that are featured as guests here. So it just is the biggest problem my wife has is keeping me at the table and not going off and visiting with my friends.
Gotcha. Okay, so here was something I wanted, and you said yesterday during the panel that Danny Ketch was somewhat based off of you. Okay, now, how much of yourself do you put into other characters that you've done, and which characters do you most like to live vicariously through?
Okay, well, I think as a writer, it's impossible to not inject some of yourself into the characters you write. And there are times when that's gotten me in trouble because early on when I was writing Ghost Rider and I was doing a Web of Spider-Man and then I was doing a Havoc series for Marvel Comics Presents, at one point I picked up the books and I felt that the three leads, Peter Parker, Danny Ketch, and Alex Summers, all sounded the same. And they all sounded like me. Okay. And I just didn't think it was working. So I actually wound up quitting Spider-Man for a short time to figure it out. As things went on, I think I got a little bit stronger as a writer. I was able to find their distinctive voices. I still think a lot of the characters will sound like me, but they're different parts of me. And so I would say sometimes Peter Parker is the closest to who I am when I'm being just very, very quippy, as it were. But some of the sullen nature of Danny Ketch is me as well.
That was something with the whole Rise of the Midnight Suns and the Spirits of Vengeance, the back and forth between them. There was definitely that kind of Spidey.
Oh yes, yeah, well, absolutely. And that once I was able to bring Blaze into the book, that also helped quite a bit because the repartee between the two of them, I think, works very well. As I've said to some people in the past, is I think that Danny Ketch was me at a very specific age. Little bit younger than when I had started writing the character, but then I think Blaze of me as I got a little bit older. I was a dad, and that's why some of the stories actually came about from my biggest fears of anything happening to my children, and there were some scarecrow stories that I did that touched on that, and then unfortunately or fortunately, I've now become caretaker. Because I'm at that age and I won't do it now, but I could spit as well to eat.
Here's my last one for you. If you could do any budget, any idea, any artist that you choose to work with, what's the dream project that you have?
That's hard. That's a really hard question. I have a lot of ideas of my own. Part of the problem is choosing an artist because in my career, I have been incredibly, incredibly fortunate to have worked with the top people in the industry. From early on, I mean, I have Alex Saviak and I started out. I started out with him on Iron Man and then Web of Spider-Man, and he's one of the best storytellers in the business. And then I worked with Alan Milgram, who's another one of the best storytellers in the business. But then I went on. I had Javier and Mark Texera and Ron Garney and John Byrne and John Romita Jr. I mean, so it is really, really hard for me. Like doing that would be like if you asked me who my favorite daughter was, I can't. So I couldn't decide. I love working with all of them. I happen to, JR and I clicked together really well. And I've told him this, the biggest problem I've had with him is that when I work with an artist for a certain period of time, I start seeing my stories in my head in their artwork. The movie that plays in my head is their artwork. And a lot of times I'll work with, I had worked with John for so long that then when I'm writing a story for another artist, I've seen his movie play in my head, and then there's a little bit of a letdown when I see somebody else's artwork on the page, but not very often. I mean, I just did the new Danny Ketch limited series for Marvel, and I'm working with a new artist, Daniel Picciotto, who was wonderful. He won me over with the first page. The establishing shot of the cemetery, I texted him, I said, you get it. As soon as I saw that, because that the atmospherics of the cemetery is what, for me, is where all of the Ghost Rider stuff comes from. And I grew up going into those cemeteries, so it's very important that it be right for me.
That'd be it. But is there any project in particular?
I mean, I've been, again, I have a lot of my own projects to do. I've been, right now I feel really lucky doing something that I didn't really think I wanted to do. I tend to not look back at things. And then when, it was actually exactly a year ago that Marvel asked me to do this Danny Ketch miniseries. It was after last year's Terrificon. It was a day or two later I got contacted by Marvel asking me if I wanted to do it. And that was great. It turned into a dream project that I didn't know I was dreaming about. Because, like I said, I don't look back. The hardest problem for me was having to go back and reread my own stuff, because I don't like to do that. But given that I had written those stories 30 years ago, I thought I should at least refamiliarize myself with the characters and the voices that they had. So no, I don't have a dream project. I love writing. I know the kinds of characters I don't want to write. I'm not a big straight-on superhero character. I never want to do Superman at DC. I don't like Batman. I did one Batman story for DC, but no, I don't have a dream project because that
kind of fun the whole time around.
I enjoy what's in front of me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you heard it today. There will be no Superman coming out from Howard Mackie. Have fun, guys.